Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a completely immersive sensory virtual journey right into the heart of a Japanese sushi restaurant. Honestly, whether you're actively planning a trip to Japan or you're just a massive fan of Japanese culture and cuisine, we are going to dive deep into the sights, the sounds, and the absolute mastery of authentic sushi. Get ready to experience the gleaming cuts of incredibly fresh fish, the high-tech wizardry of modern dining, and all those unspoken rules that will make you look and eat exactly like a local. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's a quick roadmap of what we're covering today. First, we'll uncover the really surprising history of Otomaya sushi. Then, we'll take a virtual seat at a super high-tech kaitenzushi restaurant, explore the absolute must-try mouth-watering toppings, walk through the essential etiquette you need to know, and finally, we're going to teach you the secret vocabulary of a master sushi chef. All right, starting off with Section 1, the history of Edome sushi and how it went from simple food preservation to the ultimate fast food. So before we actually sit down to eat, we have to look back. And you might actually be pretty surprised to learn that sushi didn't start out as the fresh, delicate, beautiful dish we know and love today. Not at all. Its origins are way more practical, deeply rooted in basic survival and preservation. And what's really fascinating is how dramatically it evolved over the centuries. Way back in the 8th century, you had narizushi. This was basically a technique brought over from Southeast Asia to preserve fish by packing it in salted, fermenting rice for literally months. And get this, they actually threw the rice away. You didn't even eat it. Fast forward to the 18th century, and people started adding vinegar to create hayazushi, which translates to fast sushi, finally allowing people to eat the tangy rice and the fish together. But the real breakthrough? That happened in the 19th century in Edo, which is what we now call Tokyo. A man named Hanya Yohei created Edamaya sushi. He took fresh seafood right out of Tokyo Bay, lightly marinated or boiled it just to make it last, and then hand-pressed it over vinegared rice. It was the ultimate fast food for busy, impatient Edo workers, and it was served straight out of street stalls. Now, because this was originally street food, customers would just stand up at the cart and eat with their hands. And here is a totally wild piece of historical trivia for you. When customers finished eating, they would just wipe their soy sauce-stained fingers directly on the norin, that fabric curtain hanging in front of the stall. So counterintuitively, a completely filthy curtain was actually a massive badge of honor. It basically meant the sushi was incredibly delicious because the stall clearly had a constant, nonstop stream of customers wiping their hands on the way out. Moving on to Section 2, let's talk about the kaitenzushi system. This is where high-tech meets dining. Okay, let's trade those wooden street carts of the 19th century for the bright, bustling, sensory experience of the modern kaitenzushi. If you've never been to a modern Japanese conveyor belt sushi restaurant, let me tell you, it is an absolute marvel of engineering. Picture this. You walk in, and here is your step-by-step guide to what happens when you sit down. First off, you don't wait for a waiter to bring your drink. You'll find a hot water dispenser and a container of green tea powder right at your table. You just scoop it in, press the button, and make it yourself. Next, you order using this really sleek touch panel that seamlessly switches into multiple languages, so no need to stress about a language barrier. Third, your order literally zooms right out from the kitchen directly to you. And finally, when you're done, you don't even need to wait someone down for the check. You just slide your empty plates into a little slot at your table, it automatically counts them, calculates your bill, and sometimes, if you put enough plates in, it even triggers a fun little mini game on your screen. This whole concept is just a beautiful collision of precision tech and fresh food. And believe it or not, it was actually invented back in 1958. A restaurateur got the idea by watching beer bottles glide along an assembly line at an Asahi brewery. The system spread like wildfire, and today it's next level. We're talking double-deck, high-speed delivery lanes that shoot your custom order directly to your seat in seconds. And it gets even better. Many of these plates actually have a tiny RFID microchip hidden underneath them. Why? Because if a piece of sushi has been rotating on the belt for just a little too long, a robotic arm in the back automatically discards it. This guarantees that you are only ever eating the absolute freshest fish possible. It's brilliant. All right, Section 3, let's get to the best part. Must-try sushi toppings, the true treasures of the sea. Okay, our green tea is poured, our plates have magically arrived, so let's shift our focus to the actual food. The sheer variety of seafood you'll find in Japan can definitely be a bit overwhelming. So let's highlight the absolute must-try treasures that you really should look out for. If you want beginner-friendly, universally loved toppings, you have to try the classics. There's sweet, plump ebi, which is shrimp, and the incredibly rich, creamy uni, or sea urchin, which just melts away. Salmon is also incredibly popular, especially with younger generations and tourists because of its gorgeous glossy sheen and soft texture. And hey, if you or someone you're traveling with isn't quite ready to dive into raw fish, no worries at all. Tamagoyaki is a perfect choice. It's this sweet, perfectly layered Japanese omelet, usually served over rice with a little band of seaweed holding it together. It's deeply traditional and absolutely delicious. But if we're being honest, the undisputed king of the sushi menu is maguro, or tuna. And in a real, authentic Japanese sushi restaurant, it isn't just one thing. It's served in 3 distinct, beautifully gleaming cuts. First, you have akami. This is the deep, ruby red, lean meat. It's got a very clean, meaty flavor. Then you step up to chutoro. This is your medium fatty cut, striking a really perfect balance between the meatiness and the fat. And finally, Otoro. This is the pale pink, intensely marbled belly fat. I'm telling you, it literally melts the second it hits your tongue. If you ever get the chance, I highly recommend ordering a comparison plate. Tasting the progression of richness from lean to full fat is a total game changer. And this brilliantly illustrates one of the absolute best modern preparation methods you'll see on the menu. Aburi. Basically, chefs take those super fatty toppings like salmon, flounder edge, or scallops and hit them with a roaring blowtorch right before serving. The sizzle of that open flame slightly melts the fat on top. It completely transforms the texture and unlocks this rich, smoky, deeply savory aroma that you just don't get with raw fish. Honestly, the smell alone will make your mouth water. Now for Section 4, Proper Etiquette and Manners. It's time to master the art of eating sushi. Okay, so now that your mouth is definitely watering, we really need to talk about how to actually eat it. Japanese culture places a massive value on respect and harmony. Mastering sushi etiquette doesn't just make you look good, it empowers you to fully enjoy the meal while showing profound respect for the chef's incredible craft. Now, a lot of people worry about this first point. Should you use your hands or should you use chopsticks? Well, the good news is, both are completely acceptable. Using your hands is actually the traditional way to eat nigiri, mostly because it respects the chef's incredibly delicate pressing of the rice. You won't accidentally crush it. But chopsticks are the modern standard, and honestly, they're ideal for gankin rolls. Those are the ones wrapped in a tall wall of seaweed, usually holding things like sea urchin or salmon roe. Really, the only truly unbreakable rule here: you must eat the piece of sushi in one single bite. That's the only way to experience the perfect, balanced ratio of ingredients the chef intended. So, following up on that, the absolutely crucial point is how you use your soy sauce. You always want to turn the sushi upside down and only dip the fish into the soy sauce. Never, ever dip the rice. Why? Well, if you dunk the rice, it acts exactly like a sponge. It will soak up way too much sodium, which completely overpowers the delicate flavor of the fish. And even worse, it causes those meticulously packed rice grains to crumble and just fall apart into a messy soup in your little dish. You definitely want to avoid that. You're also going to notice a little container of pale, yellow, or pink thinly sliced ginger sitting at your table. This is called Gari. Now, Gari is a palate cleanser. It's meant to be eaten between different types of sushi to refresh your mouth, kind of resetting your taste buds for the next fish. And historically, way back before modern refrigeration, its natural antibacterial properties were actually used to help prevent food poisoning. But here's the main takeaway for you: it is not a topping. Please, never take a pile of ginger and put it directly on top of your sushi before taking a bite. Finally, Section 5, Essential Sushi Terminology. Let's learn how to talk like a chef. To truly round out your cultural immersion today, let's step behind the counter and rapid fire through some fascinating terms. You see, sushi chefs have their own secret insider vocabulary, and using these terms not only adds a really fun layer to your meal, but it genuinely shows a deep appreciation for their culture. For instance, the topping isn't just called fish, it's neta. Your soy sauce? That's called murasaki, which is named after the noble color purple, kind of reflecting how rare and expensive soy sauce used to be back in the day. That hot green tea you made yourself earlier? That's a gari. Wasabi is brilliantly referred to as namida, which literally translates to tears, because, well, a big dose of that green horseradish will send a sharp kick right up your nose and absolutely make your eyes water. Oh, and a cucumber roll is a kappa, named after a mythical Japanese water demon from folklore whose absolute favorite food just happens to be cucumber. Now, here's a question for you. Why do sushi chefs call the vinegared rice shari? It's a very specific term, and it isn't just the normal Japanese word for rice. The answer is actually incredibly profound. Shari originally comes from a Buddhist term referring to the polished bones of the Buddha. Think about that. The glowing, white, perfectly separated grains of vinegared rice reminded the monks of those sacred relics. So the chefs adopted the term shari as a sign of the ultimate, highest respect for the rice they prepare. Now, if you take all this knowledge to a high-end, traditional counter, what they call an omakase experience, where the chef chooses the menu, keep this final golden rule in mind, the 3-second rule. You see, a master chef calculates the exact temperature of the fish and the warmth of the rice down to the millisecond. If you leave that beautiful piece sitting on the wooden block so you can chat with your friends or take a bunch of photos for social media, you are basically ruining that perfect fleeting moment. The clock is ticking. You really should eat it within 3 seconds of it being placed in front of you. So, look at how far we've come. We've gone from salted, fermented fish stored away for months in the 8th century to quick street food meant for impatient workers in the Edo period, all the way to double-decker robotic lanes delivering blowtorch salmon straight to a multilingual touchscreen booth. Sushi is just this beautiful paradox, isn't it? It remains so deeply rooted in ancient tradition and respect, yet it is constantly, relentlessly evolving with the times. So, considering where it started and the high-tech marvel it is today, what do you think the next centuries of sushi will look like? Think about that the next time you dip a gorgeous, melt-in-your-mouth piece of Otoro into a little dish of murasaki. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and we will definitely see you next time.